Craig Anthony Harper.
Tiffanee and Cook over there at Roll with the Punches. Hello.
Oh, welcome to the studio, Craig Anthony.
Oh, it's so good in here. Look, you've done wonders with it. I love the plants. I love all the murals, the artwork. I love the cappuccino machine in the corner. Look at that and the latte that you made me.
So fancy. So
bloody
fancy.
amazing.
Have you noticed how not only I have a new microphone, of course, because how silky smooth is my voice, by the way, still not over it, but I've got a new
By
camera
silky
too.
smooth nails on a blackboard. Yeah.
It's a little bit abrasive, isn't it?
Yeah, like a cocky with headphones on. But anyway, yep, keep going.
Yeah, but I've got a new camera too now, so how good do I look? Your
camera does look very good. And I like the light because I look at my light here. It's a bit bright and, yeah, you look a little bit television. I look a little bit 1985 Handycam.
It's got this camera. People can't see it because this is a podcast, but it's got this cameraman feature, and I've got it on real slow because it distracts me. But when I move my head, it follows me. It zooms out and it zooms in. Just saying. Fancy.
So when you move, say you shifted your head to the left, the camera follows, actually physically moves.
Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, look.
It's really slowly.
Yeah, no one can hear you, though, because
I'm away from
she just moved back, everyone, and the camera kind of zoomed in on her, although the audio didn't zoom in clearly.
You can set it really fast and it looks good, but when I'm on it talking to people and it's moving in my peripheral vision, I get distracted because I'm a distracted
It's moving in your what vision?
Peripheral vision.
Is that like peripheral?
That's it.
I love it how you make words up and then just plow on like no one will know. Yeah, my peripheral vision.
I just did a post on Facebook. I had to do an introduction to one of my guests that went to the, I don't want to say it, MIT. Can you say the long version of MIT?
Isn't it the Massachusetts Institute of Technology?
Yeah, try saying that when you've never actually said it out loud and you try and say it for the first time when you read it off the screen when you try to do an intro.
No, that anyone would get tripped up on that.
Yeah, it was very difficult.
Yeah. Well, speaking of all things technology, you're going to be proud of me. And depending on how good it is, if it's good, I'll give the organization a shout out. But lately I don't know where you want to go with this podcast, so I'm just talking. Is that all right?
It's great.
Yeah. So lately my neck and back, now, Mr. Exercise scientist, health advocate, fucking train in the gym every day. People go, oh, you're so good. You're so good. Not really. I'm not that good. I eat well and I sleep well and I train well and all that. But the thing that I do that's just fucking terrible is I sit. I just sit so much, right? Mm-hmm. So I ordered, and when I say Melissa ordered a stand-up electric table, but it's quite big. So it's a stand-up desk. It's got two motors. It's like the burger with a lot. It's like the Rolls Royce, right? And so you just press a button and it comes up so you can work. I can work sitting. I can literally just shift my chair back, push a button, then work. Everything just moves up with me. So now my computer's at whatever height. So I'm excited. That comes Friday, and I'm the company that I'm dealing with, and I don't have a deal and there's no kickback, but they've been really good. And so if it's good, because I'm a big fan I've got a stand-up workstation at uni, which is great. But at home, I should have got one a long time ago. I've tried to do a bit of making shit up and just lifting stuff. It doesn't really work. So I'm excited. And I think we should all get one because sitting is the new smoking. Sitting is so fucking bad for you. Because it's very, very few people sit down with a straight spine. Like most of us hunch. Most of us have our shoulders forward. Most of us have our head forward, which means our neck is in flexion, which means basically we're in that kind of hunchback posture.
Do you know that the skull or somewhere on the back of the skull is starting to grow this different little nodule because we're always looking down at our phones? I saw something on that recently.
And also, here's another thing to think about too. Like if you're going to do Zoom like you and I are doing right now, lift your fucking computer up off the desk so that your camera is at least eye level. right?
You want to see up nostrils?
Because I spend my life looking up people's noses because the camera is at desk level and their fucking eyes, not only, well, one, I don't want to look up your nose. There's that. Then the other thing is if your camera is way lower than your eyes, then now you have to tilt your head, and which means you're probably going to hunch your back, which means you're going to be in that what we call kyphotic posture. Kyphosis just kind of means that hunchy back posture. Anyway, long-winded story. Getting a new desk, couldn't be more excited. It's not that expensive.
How much is it?
Quite big. It's about. I got like the burger with the lot, so you can get you can get. There's a well-known place. I will not mention the name. You might figure it out. Where you can get them really cheap for like $300.
Yeah.
But I read a lot of the reviews that, let's just say, weren't glowing, because I was just going to pop up there and then that kind of sits on your desk. And then I just went, I'd rather spend, it's not a lot. It's like a grand, and it's like fan-fucking-tastic.
I reckon.
And I mean, you think about what you spend $1,000 on these days. I know it's still a lot of money, but you don't get much for $1,000 when you're trying to invest in something. I don't even know how, if it's as good as it looks. I think, it's great. You just press the heights and it goes automatically to your seated height or your standing height. Doesn't make any noise. It's electric, of course. And I'm excited.
It highlights a good point around our decision making. I've looked them up several times this year and thought about getting one. And I'm like, I'll put that on the list one day. One day I'll get one of those one day. And then recently I decided in a heartbeat that I needed this microphone. Bam, $300 gone.
Yeah.
And then I've been looking at this camera that I just got. I've been looking at it, keeps popping up in my feed. I'm like, that looks really good. That's worthwhile, because I do a lot of online content and videos and stuff. So I should get that. Bam, another $300 gone.
Yeah.
And there's my desk.
You can get a stand-up desk for cheaper than that.
Yeah.
So the company that I went with, they have a pretty good one. Same motor.
Now.
Well, what? Yeah, no. Same motor. They've got one motor, not two, and it's about 600. But again, really good reviews. And the one I got is just quicker and very quiet and more robust, and it has a 10-year warranty, which is ridiculous. Nothing has a 10-year warranty. That's not true. I think Mitsubishi have 10-year warranties now.
Lululemon Activewear has a lifetime warranty.
What?
Lululemon Activewear.
Well,
it's the Tupperware of activewear.
The Tupperware of activewear. Yeah, I can't say I wear a lot of Lululemon. When they start making army cargo shorts with a lifetime warranty. Yeah. Well, there we are. We've both bought new things that are going to make our lives hopefully more efficient and effective and streamlined, but also for me, help my neck pain and back pain, which is on the rise. So I need to do something about it.
Well, go you, Harps.
When I lie on the floor, this is bad. I shouldn't say this. When I lie on the floor on my back, it takes, 30 seconds before it feels like my spine just almost unwinds onto the flatness of the ground. And then when I do this, which is I'm putting my hands up in the air like the cops are pointing a gun at me. Well, that's probably a bad explanation. But anyway, when I lie like that, Tiff, and I try and touch my hands on the ground, or say I do Superman arms straight above my head, and then I try and put my hands back on the carpet, I can't.
Yeah.
My shoulders are so inflexible. I'm like a fucking ceramic tile with a big nose. It's fucking horrible. Like I've got to start stretching or something. I'm really bad at it. I'm strong and I'm fit, but I've got fucking no flexibility.
When I used to do Bikram yoga years ago, and big dudes like yourself, big muscly, strong gym guys would come in and they'd do exactly what we just did. We'd get to those postures where you got to put your hands together over your head, straighten your arms and straighten up, point to the roof. And they would just be this hunched over weird thing. And I would internally roll my eyes and be like, see, you're bloody useless. And then this year I've gone to a yoga class and I'm like I'm not huge, but I do more muscular work now and not flexible stuff. And I was like, oh God, I'm that person.
You've become them. You become them. But back in the day, because we were morons. I'm still a moron, I guess. But, it's like, well, who cares how flexible you are? It's like, look at my arms. I don't give a fuck. Downward dog, big deal. Look at my fucking triceps. Look at my traps. It's like, because it was all just, ego-driven, heavy weightlifting. Fucking look at me. But it's no more look at me. There's just like, my back. Can't get out of bed. Can someone do up my shoes? Well, it's not that bad, but it's heading there.
Oh, God.
What are we talking about? Are we done? Is that it? Are we finished?
Yep. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Been great, everyone.
That was
all
the
those
ceramic
takeaways.
tile.
Yeah, that's going to change a lot of people's lives, isn't it? That episode. All right, let's keep going. What do you want to talk to me about?
I had someone. This is for Coops, Megan Cooper. She wants us to have a bit of a conversation about prioritizing and focusing on multiple goals and how to plan that shit and compartmentalize and prioritize and, I guess, kind of deal with the mental and emotional side of decision making in the middle of that. So I thought I'd throw that one to you, Harps, because you've
here's
achieved
what
a lot
I
of
reckon.
goals in life.
Here's what I reckon. I think you've got to. I mean, you spoke about priorities, but here's what I know. On the other side of that is you can't do 50 things well. So I think everyone needs to kind of ascertain or establish their performance threshold. And by that, I mean how many things, and of course it varies depending on what the things are, but how many things can you do well? And in the middle of doing that, remain, fundamentally healthy, sane, social, and not become some, hermit living under a rock who does nothing except, work or whatever it is. So, so for me, it's podcasting, it's corporate speaking, and it's study, it's PhD. I can't really, so you obviously on your show, but you work with me on my show. So you help me out. And I have Melissa, and we have another lady who's just joined the team who's awesome. But yeah, there's lots of other things I would like to do, but I recognize that if I started to do more than I'm doing, one, it would affect me mentally and emotionally, which would then affect, everything, immune system, et cetera, and happiness and all of those things. But also I'd start to do lots of things not very well rather than a few things, hopefully quite well. So I think that before you kind of do the priority list, you need to get clear about how much time, effort, energy will this thing require? Because if you have a full-time job and you're doing kind of full-time PhD like me, it's officially part-time, but I'm trying to do more than that. If you put those things together, there's not a lot of room for other stuff. Like one of my friends is a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and teaches it, and I desperately want to go and start training with him. But I just know that is for me to go from scratch, which I'm currently at, to maybe over the next 6 or 8 years become a black belt. Who knows if my body would hold up anyway, but I just don't have the time for that. I can't do it. I get asked often to do things, to be involved in things, which I would really like to, but I just can't, because it would mean that I am now going to damage the thing that I'm already doing, because I don't have, it's not like I can go and find 6 extra hours.
Yeah.
So if I say yes to something, then I've got to say no to something I'm currently doing. Like somebody offered me to do a podcast thing with them on a regular basis. And I would really like to, but I kind of go, I don't think that I can. I would love to though, but I'm like, I just literally can't fit it in.
Oh, you're only doing 7 a week plus one with me every couple of weeks. Plus,
well, I do 7 a week of mine and one with you. And then I do others that I'm on for other people. Like I would do 10 a week, but also, as you know, sometimes on my show, we will record 14 episodes a week because that's just the way the bookings go with guests.
Yeah.
So all very much first world problems. But I think the answer is, you take care of the fundamentals, which is health, which is looking after your family or earning dough or ticking all the kind of, fundamentals of life. And then beyond that, the stuff that's not imperative, but where's my attention and focus and energy going to be, then it's really a personal preference, isn't it?
This will sound weird for me saying it to you, but it's like it takes a bit of patience. I'm just learning.
Fucking hell. Pot, kettle, black, anyone?
Because I was just reflecting, thinking about, when I started the podcast, I stopped competing in boxing and I didn't go back because I went, well, I can't because this has now become my little metaphoric boxing ring. This is my baby. I want to keep putting this much into it. And if I go back to boxing, then I have all or nothing for that. Yes. So I parked it for all of that time.
Yeah.
But even with this and all of the balls that I juggled and still juggle, it's like 1 week's not the same as the next, and your energy changes, and when you do it, so it's figuring out which levers are causing which results in my life, and that's really hard to be in the middle of. And so it's waiting for all of that to settle. Like now, the process of all of that is easier because it's been like my normal operating system for 2 years now of doing podcasts. So they're not as cognitively tiring and draining as when they were new and there was a lot of unknown about it.
Well, I'm just writing out now a couple of things and I'm thinking, give me 1 second. You can maybe edit this bit out. So here's, and there's probably more, but off the top of my head, I go, well, my life is a myriad of things and an intersection of things. So there's personal and professional stuff. There's social stuff. There's financial stuff. There's the, interpersonal relationships. There's health stuff. And then there's having fun and telling a few dick jokes, right? So it's, and you need to, for me, it can't be all fun and giggles. It can't be all work. It can't be all training and sitting in the lotus position, which I clearly couldn't. It can't be all about making sitting in the lotus, stick your lotus position up your ass. It can't be all about making heaps of money, and it can't be all about saving the world, and it can't be all about, any of them. It's got to be an intersection, a healthy intersection, or jigsaw puzzle of all of it. So I think other than the making a few bucks feeding the kids, and then you've got to go, well, for me, what's completely not negotiable? So, I mean, obvious, like my non-negotiables are, well, I need to, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, I need to train every day. So I said to you, we've got 40 minutes because I'm training at 4, and then I've got another podcast at 5 with David Gillespie, right? So I won't not train. There would have to be something big going on for me to not train, because for me, training is a physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially crucial component of my existence. Hang out with my mates. I talk shit. I lift stuff. I do a bit of cardio. I have fun. It's great for my brain. It's great for my emotional health. I do a lot of talking, but it's to a computer screen most of my day. So I need to get out and about. And so I think there's just that, what are the fundamentals? And then beyond that, what are my non-negotiables? Like the stuff that, of course, I could not train, but I can't not make money, and I can't not feed my kids, and I can't, but then there's the stuff that you just go, although these are optional, for me, they're not. Going to the gym, for me, it's not optional, or going for a walk or going for a run or whatever it is. And then, just figure out, and the other thing too is, what are your results telling you? Because your results are always telling you what's working and what's not. What's your bank balance saying? What's your career saying? What are the kind of results that you're producing with your workout or your exercise regime?
But
what's
then
your marriage telling you?
in the middle of the results, there's your perception of the results, which is never really or not always aligned with the actual results.
Well, that's why we try and be a bit sciencey, and that's why we try. You're correct. But 2, I always say to people, let's go with the thing that we're most emotional about in this space generally is our body. And I go, cool. So I used to, with every person that I would work with, day one would be data collection, because information, data, measurements, well, they're not an opinion. They're not a feeling. They're not an emotion. So I'd go, when you started, this was your sit and reach, this was your girth measurements, this was your body composition, this was your sub VO2 max test, these were your strength results and these different lifts. That was day 1. Now we're day 28. Let's put aside feelings and emotions for the moment. Let's just do the testing and see where we're at, because that just gives us a level of objectivity that emotions can't. Bank balance, that's a measure. Outcomes at work. So yeah, you're right. But in the middle of all of that humanness, the feelings and the fears and the anxieties and all of that, it's still good to go as much as I can. And again, this is a hard ask, but turn down the emotion and turn up the strategy.
Can you remember, just think back when you were a young lad, if you can think back that far.
Fucking hell. Back before the Crimean War. Back just after they invented the wheel, it was.
But how did you learn, or can you recall yourself going through a period of, how do you not resent the things that you can't do? Or when we stretch our threshold, that's the only way we learn our limits. We don't learn our limits from, I teach this in boxing. If you don't fail to reach the pads because you're too far away but you're fully extending your arm, you'll never learn the distance at which you can punch someone. If you're always going to throw your body forward and be too close, you'll never learn distance. So same with our capacity. I'll never learn what I'm capable of and what is a good threshold unless I overstretch. But then when we overstretch and realize that, how do you manage your mind and also that maybe resentment towards external factors of, I want to do this and I can't, or people pleasing, or all of that personal stuff that comes in and clouds us in the middle of that.
That is the world's longest question ever.
They always are.
Fucking hell, get comfy, everyone. Oh, I just went out, had a shave, drank a coffee, came back. She was still going. All right. I can't even remember it. There was so much. But look, I understand that the frustration, there are always going to be things out of your control. There are things at 59 now, obviously, that I can't do when I was 29, but most of the things I could do, I can still do. And it's trying to identify what is, based on what I want to do, create and change. What's the best use of my time and energy? Where should my attention be? Where should my mind be? Where should my focus be? Where should my body be in space and time? And what should I be expending physical energy on? What will give me the best return? The thing is that pain, we're so scared of pain, which I completely understand, but there's a kind of pain that produces a good outcome. And that is the pain that we lean into in an intelligent and strategic way. So the pain might be, I've got to study 10 hours today, or it might be, I've got to invest $1,000 in this stand-up desk. That's painful. I don't want to spend any money, but I've got to, because it's going to give me a good return. Or I've got to go and have a hard conversation, but that hard conversation done the right way will hopefully produce a good outcome, because it's not going to magically fix itself, that relationship, or it's not going to magically resolve itself, that problem, right? So there's a level of, I guess, what's the word? Optional kind of choices that we have in terms of, of course you can stay safe. You can play it safe. Of course you can sit on the literal couch or the metaphoric couch for the next 10 years and eat fucking shit and watch Netflix. Of course you can. But I would also say, do you want to figure out, or at least tap into your potential and possibilities? Do you just want to see what's possible for you? Would you like to be mentally, emotionally, and physically stronger? Would you like that? Would you like to build resilience? Would you like to develop skill and awareness and understanding and personal power and insight? Would you like to? And the answer with most people is yes, I would. And I would say, okay, it's not going to be fun, quick, easy, sexy, or painless. That's the truth. The problem is, or the challenge, the ever-present challenge is, in the space that you operate and I operate, there's a certain level of sexiness and clichéness and bullshit that permeates the messaging in the self-help personal development space, because it's easy to go, be all you can be, you can do anything, like things will sort themselves out. You're the best, all that kind of insincere, shallow fucking self-help fairy floss, right? And it isn't true. Like, you can't do anything. You can't be anything. Like, yes, you can learn and grow and be better, and you can probably do a lot more than you've done, and you can probably achieve beyond your wildest dreams. But we also need to be practical and say, yes, you can probably lose if this is what you want to do, change your body, be leaner, fitter, stronger. But I'm telling you, it could take a year. Yes, you can overcome that addiction or that habit. Yes, of course. But it's not going to be by next Thursday. And by the way, it took you 43 years to get in the shape that you're now in. You're not going to fix it in 43 days. You might change it. You might create some progress. And so, yes, we want to be encouraging and positive and hopeful and optimistic, but we also need to be practical and pragmatic and realistic. For me, I'm 59. I've been working with people in this space forever. I understand the mind pretty well, the body pretty well, the emotions pretty well. And it's still hard for me, despite my knowledge, despite my experience. Of course, there are times when I want to eat my own body weight in junk food. Of course, sometimes I don't feel like training. Every second day, I don't feel like it. Of course, there are conversations I don't want to have. But life is not comfortable, and life gives no fucks about whether or not you're happy. And this is part of you don't need to build a better life. You need to build a better you in the middle of that life. And when I build a better me, more resilient, more practical, more, solution focused, not problem obsessed. I acknowledge the problems, but I don't obsess about them. When I do that, then my life becomes better because I am the author of my life. I am the storyteller, and there'll be shit that goes on in our world that we have no control of. And that's for everyone, and that's other people and other people's choices and the government and COVID and traffic lights and weather and all of those things that impact our reality that we have zero impact on or control of. But then in the middle of all of the shit that we can't control and often waste energy on, we need to hopefully become aware of, all right, and this is not about self-loathing, this is about self-awareness, is going, okay, what do I need to do to create better outcomes? And yes, that person was mean to me. And yes, there was discrimination. There was all of those things, and we acknowledge them, and that shouldn't be. There should be no discrimination. There should be no bullying. There should be no, pain inflicted on all of that. I'm with you, but that's not the world we live in. The world, just go on fucking any social media platform for more than a few minutes and have a look around. We don't live in that world. We live in a world that is messy and beautiful and amazing and hateful and hurtful and loving and compassionate and violent. And that's the world that we live in. And it's all well and good to pretend that life is a Disney movie and the world's full of love and light and unicorns, but it isn't. So all we can control is how we are in the world. How I know that I am a flawed, loving, kind, compassionate person who fucks up on a regular basis and still offends people and still is inappropriate and still gets trapped in ego, despite the fact that I don't want to. But I am all day, every day human. So I'm always fighting that. But I don't waste time on, while I care about, for example, the Ukraine, and I might send some money, and I'm compassionate and I feel for those people. And if I could fix it or change it, I would, but I can't. So I don't waste heaps of energy on that. But if I go, well, send some money, Craig, do something. So there's a friend of mine runs a church over here, and they're supporting a whole lot of Ukrainians, and I've done some stuff for them, right? Gladly. So that's something I can do. And I think it's always coming back to what's in my control, what matters to me, what are my values, that internal sat nav, and then in regards to all of that, what am I doing? What am I doing to make my part of the world better? What am I doing to be the person that people love to be around, not for my ego, but because I'm sharing great energy with them? And what am I doing to work on the shit that I need to work on? I feel like that was 27 times longer than your question.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Can't remember what the question was. I want to really specifically answer a couple of the questions that Megan asked, and that was, so when it comes to prioritizing one goal, something takes precedence. How do you not drop the others entirely and manage the mental and emotional impact of that forced prioritization? So I'm guessing, it could be family, it could be whatever situational thing is bringing that.
And without, I don't dodge any questions, kind of hard to answer. Like, you need to know what are the variables, like what are the things that we're talking about,
I guess what it brings to mind for me, I'm guessing what becomes difficult is when things aren't a daily non-negotiable. So when for me, when I left boxing, and boxing wasn't a day, like there was no daily intent for that. I still train, I still move, I still do that, but so the focus on it and the intention, I guess, how do you maintain something when you have less frequency or you don't have the ability to actually stay in the process?
Well, I don't know that you always can. I mean, you've got to, everything comes at a cost. And sometimes you go, well, I'm going to throw my effort and energy and focus and attention into this thing, which means that I won't, it's like your boxing fitness and your boxing skills, probably diminished when you jumped in to podcasting and gave that more time, effort, energy, and focus, right? And so one of the consequences was all your boxing stuff dropped because you weren't giving it the same level of attention. And you just have to wear that. Like you can't have everything at once. There's I'm kind of a third of the way through doing a video program. And I've been about a third of the way through doing this 30-day video program for about 4 months. And I've made no progress. And the reason is I can't, because I'm going to have to stop something else. And I can't do, for the moment, I can't do it. So it just has to sit on a shelf. Because if I said to Melissa or you, I said, I need to find 2 hours a day for the next 30 days to finish this program, then then I'm going to do 2 hours less PhD or 2 hours less. I don't have 2 hours to give up. So it's either, and I probably already work too much. Fortunately, I have a really good relationship with my work where it doesn't feel like work. That's a bonus. But, I think when it comes to prioritizing and figuring out what your practical process day to day, time allocation, resources, attention, what that's going to look like, there's no right or wrong. It's really just up to you because, like, for example, depending on what you are doing, for some people, 4 hours a day of that thing will be too much. It will absolutely kill them. But for someone else, 4 hours, 10 hours a day of the same thing wouldn't be a problem. Like you and I both know, like if you and I had to go and run a workshop tomorrow, you had to run one, I had to run one. You needed to get into the city at 8 o'clock. The gig kicked off at 9 and it went till 6, which is a 9-hour day plus travel plus in and out. It's a 12-hour day. You would lap that up. You'd be tired. You'd lap it up. So would I. For some people, if they had to go and do a 1-hour corporate gig in the city, it would keep them awake for 10 nights and it would be the most stressful, draining, horrible fucking thing they've ever done. So I don't think there are any arbitrary numbers or metrics. I think you just need to try something and then see how you respond.
I think just because the questions come from a female, and I think a lot, cause I've been coaching a lot of females lately, and a lot of them around PH360. So what we look at is sometimes it's completely flipping their day. So we're talking about women who have families and kids to feed and school stuff to get ready. So they get up and they train and they do this. And then they look at how they're wired and they go, actually, this, potentially is not the right thing for me. It'd be better if I flipped my whole day. How do you do that? So then the focus for myself is rewiring. Actually, how do you think about the value of yourself in relation to your family, and understanding that when I look after me, I'm a better parent. And then when I can have a conversation with my family and my children, and we can all accept that this is a better operating system for me and all of us, but it's just going to change everybody's day a little bit. So it's a different conversation. So I feel like when it comes to women, there's a lot of people pleasing. There's a lot of, I've got to do this. I've got to play this role. I've got to do this thing. I've got to be this person.
Yeah. I think also, it's both what is it? It's like, it's good and bad. You know, women are so generally, and so are some men, of course, but like mums are so typically so generous and kind and loving and self-sacrificing, and which is all very noble and nice and lovely. But if one of the consequences of that is that mum is now fucking exhausted and depressed and anxious and not sleeping, and now mum is showing up to do whatever she does, and she's a 2 out of 10 because she's, you know, a people pleaser, or she gives too much, or and by the way, there's no judgment here. I think mums are fucking incredible. My mum's 83 and she still blows me away at 83. How amazing she is. Dad, but mum, I'm just joking, Ron. Just joking, Ron. But, you know, that's the thing. But as you were kind of inferring, I say to mums, I know you feel guilty and I know you feel bad, but you need to spend some real time, not for 3 weeks, but all the time, as in on an ongoing basis, to look after you, so that physically, mentally, emotionally, and no, there's no magic pill, but physically, mentally, emotionally, you're looking after you, so that when you show up to work, or when you show up to parent, or when you show up to problem solve, or when you show up to do whatever it is that you're going to do, you are in a pretty good place, you know, and that's an ongoing challenge because, you know, life in 2022, especially when you've got a few kids, especially when you've got a job or a business or a myriad of responsibilities, it's, you know, it's demanding. It's tough.
Well, look, one of your big goals today is to get to the gym on time. And I certainly don't want to be an external or situational barrier to put any pressure on that goal, Harps.
Well, if I get fat, I'm blaming you. if I start eating McDonald's and not going to the gym, I'm because that's what everyone else does. I'm going to blame you. I'm going to say it's your fault. It's nothing to do with me. You're the cause.
I just recorded a solo episode for this weekend because you've given me that brilliant idea, and it's very hard, everyone. It's very hard for me, but I'm doing it every week with a lot of bloody self-criticism in the middle of it all. But it's about how showing up is not enough when we go to the gym. So, Craig, do more than just show up.
Fuck, you're bossy. All right, I'm going to go and lift shit. I'm going to go and lift heavy shit, then eat a chicken because I can.
Thanks, Harps. Thanks, everyone.